All right, so today is going to be a continuation on from yesterday's similar triangles. So yesterday we were trying to show if they were similar, and today we're going to know that they are similar, and we're going to use that to solve for the missing variables. So our first step is we're going to have to break these triangles up because I have two triangles here. I've got a small one, and then I have a larger one. So I'm going to want to separate those into two separate triangles. So I have the small one here. I'm going to label it. So the small one had a side of X and Y, and the bottom was 6. The big triangle had a side of 8 and 10, and the bottom was 14. So what we're first going to start off with is our proportion. So again, you set it up small triangle to big triangle. And you could do big to small too. You'll still get the same answer. So our first proportion, I'm going to start at the small one. I'm going to start with X. So I'm going to trace over where X is. X is on the left-hand side. If I go to the big triangle, 8 is on the left-hand side. So I'm going to do X over 8 will be my ratio equals, because remember we're setting the proportion, and the proportion has equal sign in the middle. Now I'm not going to do where Y is because I can't solve an equation when I have X and Y in it. So I'm going to do the bottom. So I'm going to do 6 over 14 because 6 matches with the small triangle and the bottom on the big triangle. Now we have a proportion, which we should know what to do from the last section. Cross multiply. So I have 6 times 8 is 48, and X times 14 is 14X. And then I'm going to solve. So I'm going to divide by 14. And now we can simplify this to be a decimal, which it comes out to be 3.4, or if we simplify the fraction down, dividing the top and the bottom by 2, you get 24 over 7. Any of these would be an acceptable answer. I would like you to make a side note on the side of your paper to just write, do not be afraid of fractions and decimals. Since we are working with proportions, a lot of our answers are going to be fractions or decimals. Not all the time, but sometimes you'll get fractions or decimals. So make sure you make a note of that on the side of your notes. Do not be afraid of fractions or decimals. And then our next example here, we have 3 variables. We have an X, a Y, and a Z. So again, I'm going to set up small shape to the big shape for my proportions. So I'm going to look where I first have 2 numbers. So if I look at the bottom shape, I have an 8 and I've got a 12 on the bottom of each of those shapes. So I'm going to start there. So I'm going to do my small is my 12 over 8. Then I'm going to set that equal. So now I have to pick which variable I would like to solve for. I'm going to start with X. So again, I'm going to start with my small one. If I come to the small picture, I have 2. And then I have to go where X is. So X is in the bigger one. Now I'm going to solve the proportion again. We solve by cross multiplying. So I have 12X equals 16. And from there we can simplify. So we're going to divide by 12. So you get X equals 16 over 12. And if we simplify that, we get 4 over 3. And again, either of those are acceptable answers, or if you would like, you can make them into decimals. Okay, so now we have X. Now I'm going to keep using this 12 over 8 because those are the 2 numbers that are automatically given in the picture. So I don't want to use my X just because it's a fraction and a decimal, so it'll just make all my work that much more difficult. So I'm going to stick with the 12 over 8. So now I'm going to pick a new side that I haven't done yet. So I'm going to do the 4. So 4 from the small one matches up with Y from the big one. So I'm going to cross multiply again. So you get 12Y equals 32. And I'm going to divide by 12. So then I get Y equals 32 over 12. Or again, we can simplify that to 8 over 3. So see, so far we still have 2 answers that are fractions. So that's why we don't want to be afraid of fractions. And the last one we have to figure out what z is. So again, I'm starting with 12 over 8. And I'm going to set that equal to where z is. So z is in the small one, so that goes on top now, over, it matches with 6 in the larger one. So again, we're going to cross multiply. So I get 8z equals 72, and if I divide by 8, then z will equal